Baltimore, 1827. A boy of about 8 stands barefoot on a kitchen floor, watching a white woman trace letters on a slate. She is not a rebel. She is not trying to change the world. She is simply doing what any kind person does for a child, teaching him his ABCs. For a few weeks, the boy believes this is simply what happens to children. Then the master walks in. He does not just tell his wife to stop. He explains himself. And it is the explanation that never leaves the boy. A slave who can read becomes a slave who can think. A slave who can think becomes a slave who asks why. And a slave who asks why is no longer a slave a man can fully own. The lesson ends that day, but something else begins, because the boy has just been handed by accident the exact shape of his own cage. He now knows precisely what his masters are most afraid of, and fear, once you can name it, becomes a map. For years, this is his baseline. Beatings measured out like weather. A birthday he will never know. Hunger as a permanent condition of the body. He is not fighting anything yet. He is simply surviving inside a system built to keep him illiterate, dependent, and blind. What breaks the stillness is not a single beating. It's the sentence his master spoke. Teaching a slave to read will make him forever unfit to be a slave. But to a child standing in that kitchen, it lands as proof. Proof that reading is the master key. Now that he knows the door exists, he cannot unknow it. For a while, he does what almost anyone in his position would do. He waits, he watches for a kinder master, a softer year, a change in the law. It is the most human response to hope the system that hurt you will eventually correct itself. It does not come. The law was written by the very men who profited from his ignorance. Nothing about the system was ever going to free him. And this is the moment worth sitting with, waiting for a rescue that was never coming. If you've ever waited on a system to save you and suspect it never will, this is where you should hit subscribe. Because the turn doesn't come from a plan. It comes from boys. White children in the Baltimore streets poor themselves. They're just kids trading favors. Douglass realizes the need underneath his want. He starts trading the only currency he owns, bread taken from the master's kitchen, for lessons scratched in the dirt. What follows is not one dramatic act, but 100 small, terrified ones. He hides pages in the folds of his clothes and in the gaps of timber yards. Every lesson carries a cost. He copies letters he finds chalked on fences. He reads scraps of speeches from a schoolbook he manages to buy with pennies saved in secret. In those pages he finds words for a feeling he's had his whole life, the idea that a man in chains and a man in freedom are still, underneath it all, simply men. Knowledge, once it is truly yours, cannot be beaten out of you, sold away from you, or repossessed. It is the one property a master can never claim. By the time he is a teenager, the boy who was denied an alphabet lesson can read newspapers, write letters, and argue law well enough to unsettle grown men. The weapon his master feared into existence is fully loaded. And when Douglass eventually escapes north, it's his command of language that makes audiences go silent. Standing in front of rooms full of people who own slaves themselves, he forces them to reckon with a mind their entire worldview insisted could not exist. What happened to Frederick Douglass fits a shape you can use yourself. STEAL. See the cage. Name the trigger. Recognize when the external fix fails.
Let the awakening happen, often through someone who has no idea they're showing you the way, and then take liberation, built from small stolen lessons. Picture that same kitchen one more time. A boy on a cold floor, letters taken from him by force. Now picture a stage, years later.
The taking has become the giving. The silence he was sentenced to has become a voice nobody can look away from. He was told reading would ruin him. He made sure they were right.